Welcome to the Shockingly Simple podcast. In a world of fitness gimmicks, fear-mongering, and 6-week challenges, we're here to cut through the noise and focus on what actually creates lasting change. I'm Kelly Demers, here with my co-host Nick Patrick, and each episode we're here to break down health, fitness, and longevity into simple, actionable steps you can use in real life. No extremes, no perfection, just fundamentals that move the needle.
This is Health and Longevity Simplified.
Let's get into it. Today, we are talking about something that every woman will go through, but almost no one is properly prepared for, and that is perimenopause and menopause. And more importantly, what you can actually do about it, because it's not just about the hormones. It's about muscle, it's about bone density, it's about metabolism, and ultimately, it's about your independence as you age. Today's view is from a 5,000-foot view. We want you to understand what is happening, why it matters, and what moves the needle the most. So I'm going to give a lightning round of what perimenopause is, menopause, postmenopause. So I'm hoping that the majority of people that are tuning in probably have a real good idea of what those are. But for those that don't, perimenopause is the transition that leads up to menopause. It can start as early as in your 30s. Typically, it happens in your 40s. Can last anywhere from 4 years up to, I've heard, up to 15 years. So common symptoms. This is where hormones, by the way, start to fluctuate, especially estrogen. You can experience irregular cycles, sleep disruption, brain fog, mood swings, weight changes. Those are all perimenopausal. Menopause is literally just a moment in time. It is that moment where a woman stops having menstrual cycles for 12 consecutive months. At that point, she is postmenopausal. So postmenopause is everything after menopause, and this is where we start to see long-term shifts in bone density, in muscle mass, and metabolic health, in the way that women store fat. It is funny to me that I'm having this menopause conversation with you, of all people, because, nothing says menopause like a 38-year-old male. So here we go. But it is funny because I'm going through it, so you get a front row seat to that. But we are also predominantly a gym of females, and I think we're 40 to 83. So we cover a wide age span. So not only do you get to see the front seat view or the front row view for me, but for all of our clients everywhere. So it is funny that we're having this conversation, but what are you seeing in clients that they're not expecting during this phase?
Well, I like to consider myself well-versed and part of the tribe. So thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Oh, good.
Some of the big impacts and changes that, we see are some of the common ones: brain fog, mood swings, some depression and anxiety risks. You mentioned bone density loss, which we have like a reduced protection byproduct. The metabolic changes, so you're more likely to store fat. Your resting metabolic rate goes down. Some cardiovascular risks are going to increase. Energy and recovery can decrease or be kind of sporadic or very reactive or unpredictable. Certainly muscle loss, and then with muscle loss, we're looking at reduced strength and power. Like those are the big hitters.
We know that during this time, estrogen is declining. You had talked about strength is decreasing. Well, muscle mass naturally decreases if it's not maintained. So bone density, you hit on that a little bit, but also recovery slows. Fat storage patterns change. And so you'll hear, have you ever heard this is so horrible. Have you ever heard the term menopause?
Of course I've heard of it.
Okay, so like that one can go to die somewhere. That is just, it's so terrible. But women tend to store fat, kind of moves around the body and kind of stores in the belly. So One of the important things is to understand is that research is showing us that metabolism doesn't suddenly just crash. It feels like it suddenly crashes, but it is a combination of muscle loss. It is a combination of hormonal shifts and lifestyle changes that kind of all come together and make it seem like just one day you woke up and things are crashing and they're breaking all over. You're not broken. Your body is adapting. The question becomes, are you adapting with it? You touched on something that I want to kind of blow up, and that is the big myth is aging automatically equals muscle loss. So I'd like to clear something up because I think it's huge. People think that we lose muscle mass because we age. Do you want to debunk that?
Once and for all, but probably not. You don't lose muscle because you age. You lose muscle because you stop training.
So you're not using your muscles.
You're not using your muscles. Our bodies are so efficient that it takes energy to keep certain skills and traits up. So if you're not actively pursuing building muscle, getting stronger, being powerful, being flexible, your body is going to happily give that up. I believe it's called the principle of reversibility, right? We have to actively pursue something or else it's just going to give it up because it's easier not to maintain it.
An easier way to say that is use it or lose it.
Use it or lose it,
Right.
100%.
So, but the important thing for women to understand is that if you do strength train, you can maintain and even build muscle mass into your 50s and 60s and beyond. So not only, we talk about some of the big symptoms of perimenopause and menopause being muscle loss, we can show you that we can build that muscle mass. We'll talk about some of the training interventions, but one of them is, jumping, bouncing, rebounding, and that can build back bone density. And those are we can prove it, right? If you do a DEXA scan, you can show where muscle mass started and where muscle mass ends. We have clients that have done that. They have rebuilt muscle mass or bone loss.
Menopause and postmenopause just means that you are in a new stage of life. It doesn't mean that this is like some inevitable decline. It just means that your strategy needs to change. It's not the beginning of the end. It's
Right.
more like a transition into a new existence and hopefully towards a new strategy.
And we have women that are in the facility and they are strength training. What changes have you seen in women who actually commit to a strength training program during this phase?
Strength training it's the number one thing that we go to here. Earlier, we had gone through some of the impacts and the changes. You can literally look at the inverse of each of those changes, and that's a byproduct of strength training. So when we talk about, some of the positive impacts of strength, we're looking at, reversing those changes that are currently happening. So muscle loss turns into muscle gain. Decreased bone density, well, guess what? Turns into stronger bones. Mm-hmm. Bones need load to become stronger. They need some type of stressor. That's strength training. Fat storage goes up typically in menopause. Guess what? Strength training helps promote muscle gain, which is going to lead to a leaner composition. Cardiovascular risk goes up. Strength training, yes, it lowers cardiovascular risk. Brain fog and mood swings. This is more like subjective, right? Or it's harder to quantify, but reporting, via question asking, that improves too. Mm-hmm. Just simple, how are you doing today? And then 60 minutes later after a strength training session, we're laughing, we're joking, we're smiling, we're having a good time.
And the byproduct of that becomes increased confidence and energy. So it's a ripple effect.
And that goes into the next one, like energy and recovery can kind of be all over the map during menopause. So yeah, we have more energy. And then we typically see recovery improve because when we're in a very healthy wellness practice, we're more likely to support those efforts with positive lifestyle habits outside of training, such as I'm going to prioritize sleep. I'm strength training, so I think I should probably start fueling my body a little more effectively or, usefully. So I'm going to eat more protein. So recovery improves. And then, obviously with strength training, we would expect that strength goes up, but also power. Power is often, it's a sneaky thing that we don't always appreciate. The ability to move very quickly, that matters. So you put all of this together and you have like a serious longevity recipe with one ingredient, strength.
Right. So strength training is the intervention. It is, if there is one thing that you walk away with from this episode today, it is that strength training is not optional. It is absolutely essential. You had touched on one thing that I want to go back to. You talked about power and agility. Can you talk about why that's so important relative to fractures, falls, broken bones, those types of things?
When you look at the impacts or the changes that happen through menopause, you had mentioned, and we have mentioned so far, many of them, strength loss, bone density loss, loss of power. If we are slower, we're not quicker to react. We have brain fog, so our brain's not firing the way that we need it to. We typically don't fall because we have poor balance. A lot of falls happen because we're not fast enough to catch ourselves.
Right.
So you're not fast enough, you're more likely to fall. But now when you fall, you have less protection because your bones are weaker. So now those breaks that used to be cool when you were in middle school and you got this cast in your arm and everybody's, you're the coolest kid in the classroom, that turns into a much more serious ordeal.
Right. It is important to understand that this is not about aesthetics. This is about staying strong and being able to live your life on your terms. What's actually at stake by not strength training and doing the power and the agility moves? About 1 in 2 women over the age of 50 will break a bone due to osteoporosis. 1 in 2. Quick math, 50%. 50% of women over 50 will have a bone break due to osteoporosis. That's staggering. Hip fractures are one of the leading causes of loss of independence. This is supported by the CDC is giving this. The National Osteoporosis Foundation is providing these statistics. It's not, me guessing. Here's one that substantiates what you've just said about the falling and not having the foot speed to prevent it. Falls are the leading cause of injury-related deaths in people over 65 years old. Falls.
And that's so frustrating because I'm not saying that it's preventable, but man, we can do so much to decrease the likelihood that that's going to happen. Mm-hmm. This isn't a surprise to us. We know, like using an analogy here, we know what menopause is trying to do. It's trying to rob you of all these different traits. Right. It's trying to rob you of your muscle, your strength, your power, your speed. If you're walking down the street with your purse and a mugger comes and tries to grab your purse, you can actively fight back against it and keep your purse, or you could just let them have it. Mm-hmm. That's really the decision in a nutshell, to strength train and combat some of these things that we know that are going to happen throughout this process. It's the difference between not getting robbed or getting robbed.
Right. So we're not always just, we're training for today, but we're also training for 20 years from now to maintain that independence long term. In addition to strength training, one of the things that we're learning as we get smarter about this stage of life is the missing piece, a critical missing piece being impact training. And it's something that most people aren't talking about yet. And that is the jumping, the hopping, the bounding, those types of activities that are, bone responds to force. And if you've never given them a reason to stay strong, again, they won't. It's a use it or lose it thing. So that, one of the things that I have noticed in all of the programs in the facility now is that everybody's doing some type of jump training, whether that's quick directional changes, bounding, leaping, hopping, jumping rope, whatever it is. Everybody's doing something like that.
It's how we prepare for life. Mm-hmm. And we're able to write those into our programs because the clients that we help the most and that work with us prioritize health above all else.
So if my 80-year-old aunt goes, "Oh, I don't do any of that jump training," what's a safe entry point for someone that hasn't done this before?
It's going to come through the assessing process.
And you can take my Aunt Jeannie out of this, but you can, you can answer for anybody. What's a safe entry point for someone that's not done this before?
It's going to come through the assessing process and knowing like who are we working with in the first place. The needs don't change. The entry point does. Okay. So we might have somebody who's 60, doesn't have any orthopedic concerns, great balance, is pretty strong. They might start out in like a more intense jumping program, whereas somebody who might have poor balance, we might be doing something more like a low intensity hop or a skip or a bound, maybe supported with a band or an external object. But we give everybody their own appropriate entry point. We don't say, well, you're 80, so I guess you're not going to jump. Like, we're going to figure out a way that's appropriate for you and your body. But it is a requirement for the life that you want to live, and always looking through that longevity lens.
So someone that's in perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, whatever, says, "Okay, you've sold me. This is a thing. I don't want to be in the 50% that falls. I don't want to be in the fall-related deaths. You've sold. I'm ready to do this." Let's call out some of the biggest mistakes that we see women making during this time frame. One of them, only doing cardio, or they're going to lift the 3 and the 5 pound weights, thinking that they're going to tone, but they're avoiding lifting the heavy weights. We see that quite often as well.
It is common, and hopefully this list can go to die after this. Like you had mentioned, only doing cardio, only lifting light weights. I always laugh when I'll ask somebody who just starts working with us, like, what is your experience strength training? Oh, I strength train all the time. Oh, where? Oh, in my basement. Cool. What kind of equipment do you have? I have 3, 5, and 7 pound dumbbells.
Right.
Got it. So it's not a total bust because, yes, you're setting up this healthy practice, but we need a little more stimulus than that. And we'll teach you how safely. Under eating protein is a huge one.
It is an absolutely huge one. Most women think that if I'm eating 60 to 70 grams of protein in a day, it's sufficient. And I hate to burst anyone's bubble. It's not, unless you are a 60 or 70 pound woman. It is not enough protein. I think I'm going to add to that and say protein and fiber. Fiber is necessary for several things, but it's good for the gut microbiome. It's good for cortisol regulation. It's good for blood sugar regulation. So protein should be a prominent feature of any meal. Fiber should be another one. Got
to have the protein, got to have the fiber. Another common mistake that we'll see is avoiding intensity. For many different reasons, right? I don't want to lift heavy because I'm going to get bulky, right? I don't want to have man shoulders.
What are the chances of a 55-year-old woman just starting to lift weights getting bulky?
It's
like any age.
It's akin to me saying, I'm going to go golfing. I hope I don't end up on the PGA Tour.
Right.
It's
fair.
It's highly unlikely. And I always say, if we start this program together and you get too bulky, just let me know and we'll and we'll adjust it for you. Yeah.
Fair.
It's not to say that your concern is not valid. It's just unlikely.
Yeah.
But in the odd chance that it happens, we'll tweak the program. We got you. And then like another common mistake that we see is like the mindset that somebody might have on a lower bandwidth day.
Yeah.
You're going through menopause. Your energy and your recovery is going to be all over the map. It's going to be very reactive and unpredictable. We know that. When we make decisions based on your bandwidth, like maybe doing a little bit less on a particular day, it's not doing less. It's training smarter. It's literally meeting yourself where you are given the budget that you have for that day and making sure that you don't go bankrupt so you can come back the next day even stronger. Again, stacking really good days rather than having to push really hard one day and, oh yeah, now I'm really tanked. I'm not going to be back for 5 days.
I would say the last one, and then we can move on, is being inconsistent. Consistency matters, and I will say some people that are starting a program, they've done it for 4 days in a row. I haven't seen anything. So I don't think it's still working for me. And it really becomes consistency over time. It is, you're in it for the long game. I will say you cannot out cardio muscle loss. So for those that are afraid of lifting heavy weights, you can't make up for it in jogs and in runs. You cannot out cardio muscle loss. This is something that needs to be done with full-on resistance training. So if you're listening and you're like, okay, muscle strength training, so where do I start? We talk about progressive overload. What does that mean?
You need to build muscle like your life depends on it.
Because it does.
Because it absolutely does. Start with building muscle, and then everything that comes after, that's gravy. So your cardio, right? Cool. Hit the cardio, but build muscle like your life depends on it. We're thinking 2 to 4 times weekly. We're using progressive overload. It's just a fancy way of saying that we need to do something that is challenging enough that it elicits a response. And then the next time we're going to ask you to do just a little bit more. It might be 1 more rep. It might be 1 to 2 pounds more. Just something to put enough demand on your body that it actually needs to change. And that's where the 3, the 5, the 7 pound weights fall very, very short. Right. Unless that is your entry point, but it's highly unlikely. And we need to do compound movements. So compound movements, it's like the ones that are very familiar with us. The major movement patterns, we need to squat, hinge, push, pull, and carry on something. Something where multiple joints are moving all at once. Those have a huge hormonal response to exercise, all to say you're going to get more bang for your buck if you do those particular types of movements.
Right. And I think this is where coaching matters, because doing the right things the right way changes everything. You maximize your time, you train with intention, you're not just going through the motions, you're not questioning, and you're really valuing your time in the best way possible. If you don't have a coach, one of the things, and I think you follow a lot of these doctors as well, but if you want to learn more, there are some incredible experts on this conversation. I'm going to throw out a couple of them, or a few of them. Dr. Stacy Sims is a great follow on Instagram. Dr. Vonda Wright is a great follow. Dr. Mary Claire Haver is a great follow. There is Loretta Hogg. She goes by Loretta Loves Lifting on Instagram. So those 4 women are leading the charge in menopause, perimenopause, but they are also leading the charge in terms of building strength, understanding what it means to have progressive overload be a part of the routine as well. And they will tell you there is a better way to approach this stage of life, and you don't have to figure it out alone. Go to the experts, work with a coach. Those are big things. If you take one thing away from today, let it be this. Your body is changing, but that doesn't mean that you have to decline. Strength training gives you control in a phase of life where a lot can feel out of control. This is not a time to think about getting smaller. It's a time to get stronger for the life that you want to be able to live.
If there's one thing that should be very comforting from this conversation, is if we look at the list of things that are changing during menopause, it's a lot. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're probably looking at like 10 major things. Mm-hmm. I hope, and we hope, that it provides a huge sense of calm, that all of those 10 things can be narrowed down and addressed with one thing to very, very high degrees.
Right.
Strength train.
Right. And I think you do have a higher pain tolerance for working with an entire gym of females going through the same things.
I'm way more emotionally resilient than I ever have been.
Fair.
There's nothing that you can say to me that's going to shock me. I'm confident.
I would agree. Before you go, remember, progress comes from small, consistent actions done well. Take one thing from today's episode and apply it this week. If this was helpful, subscribe, share it with someone who needs it, and come back for the next episode. This is Shockingly Simple. We'll see you next time.